And we're back. It's a Friday special edition of the Carolina Weather Group. James Brereton with you from Charlotte. Sam Walker out in the Outer Banks, and you are looking at a map right now of all the weather alerts out across the Southeast, and all of that pink impacting each and every county in North and South Carolina is a winter storm warning because we've got snow knocking on the door on this Friday night, Sam, and it's going to be here by sunrise.
We are going to be waking up with at least a dusting in some spots and maybe even a little bit more, and it's just going to get higher and higher and higher. Higher. It's bringing back memories of several storms for me here in eastern North Carolina and really across North Carolina. Obviously, I think we're going to be marking the end of January, beginning of February 2026 as one of those we'll be talking about for a long time.
Yes, and speaking of talking about, if you're with us live right now, it's about 7:30. Drop us a comment wherever you're watching from. We will try to get to some questions after our forecast update. But let's start by showing you computer models. These are not official forecasts, and we're going to show you the official forecast, and we're going to give you localized snowfall amounts across the regions, the highs, the mediums, and the lows. But we want to first conceptually paint a picture. So please don't tune out after we show this to you, because this is not necessarily exactly what's going to happen. But here is our high rapid refresh model. It goes hour by hour during the overnight hours. You can see that snow is going to start to develop over western North Carolina, maybe some of it down there towards the coast. Lots of gap in between those two sections, and then it starts to fill on in as this low pressure develops off the coast, because this is what this system is all about. It's about a low pressure off the coast there, and then it kind of really starts to blanket the area. But look right here, we can see on the map we got lots of blue, and that is snow. The darker blues is heavier snow, but we've got white, and that is precipitation gaps. That is somebody who's going to be looking up at the sky, Sam, going, it's not snowing here. While the guy who's in the dark blue is getting drenched in snow. And so we're going to have very localized differences of snowfall amounts by the time the storm is done. Those areas of dry, those areas of overperforming, they might shift around a little bit. And you can kind of see as we look through different computer models, that was the high rapid refresh. Here is the NAM. This is a kind of medium term one that actually goes well beyond the event at this point. Shows a little bit more rain mixing in there towards the Charleston area. But again, it kind of looks Swiss cheese. I just came up with that term, Sam, and I'm going to stick with it. Swiss cheese, right? We have some holes in the storm. Right. Yeah, and let's just show the GFS for goodness sake. Why not, right? And kind of doing the same thing. And, you know, there is a little bit of a trend to where some of those holes may or may not be, but it's really anyone's guess. So here's what the good folks at the National Weather Service are predicting. This is their kind of their median, most likely to happen. We're going to show you the highs and the lows and the chances and the percentages. But I'm going to read these out if you're listening to audio right now. We're actually looking at snowfall amounts of only 3.5 inches in western North Carolina. Asheville 4, Boone 5. I say only, right, Sam? Because Columbia, South Carolina is coming in at 6. Charlotte's coming in at 7. Greensboro coming in at 5, which is the same as Boone. Asheboro, Albemarle, Rockingham, closer to 7 inches. And then we kind of start getting maybe these heavier pockets where Raleigh and Sanford and Fayetteville might get 8 or 9 inches if they don't get dry slotted, or apparently I'm calling it Swiss cheese now. The I-95 corridor is kind of crazy. 10 inches in Goldsboro, 12 inches. That's a foot, by the way, in Greenville. And then, Sam, Outer Banks, am I seeing a difference between 11 inches to the north and 5 inches to the south?
Yes, you are, and that is not unusual for any type of winter storm, although we have seen that reversed a couple of times of late in recent history. In fact, over the last 20 years, we've seen where Hatteras got 7, 8, 9, and the Northern Beaches only got 4 or 5. I mean, that has happened, but it looks like this time you mentioned earlier about Charleston seeing rain. Looks like a little more rain mixing in with the HRR. For us out here, at least south of Oregon Inlet. So Hatteras Island, Ocracoke, even on down to the Crystal Coast as well. The beaches might see a little more rain when the precipitation starts tonight, but there's enough cold air in place it's going to kind of shift as the center of circulation, as the moisture starts to fill in. and brings that cold air that's up top, because we don't have it. We are not talking warm noses tonight. We do not have drippy noses tonight. It's straight up cold
Straight
from top
snow,
to bottom.
No, very little sleet, very little
Yes.
ice or mix over, maybe a few pockets if you're right kind of on that rain snow line. We've got somebody watching, wants to know about Beaufort, South Carolina. Again, like even that Charleston area, we're probably looking at least an inch. So it seems like everyone's going to get at least some snow, some more than others. We're going to zoom in on some of these regions in a second, but the Weather Service does this fabulous thing where they actually give you the percentage of different achievements amounts, different accumulations. And so it really helps us convey what might happen and what might not happen, right? So sometimes a meteorologist might say, oh, we're going to get 1 to 3 inches of snow and 4 to 6 inches of snow and 6 to 8 inches of snow. What that kind of translates to is these breakdown of percentages. And so it really helps us communicate the chances that these different scenarios might happen. What you're looking at on the screen right now is a chance of seeing 1 inch of snow. Almost everybody has 100% chance of seeing 1 inch of snow in North Carolina and South Carolina. Matter of fact, Sam, what's the lowest number on here?
87% up right along the border counties between 85 and 95, which usually that's where we talk about more of 100% when we're talking about snow chances.
Yep. Okay, so here's 2 inches. Here are the percentage chances of getting 2 inches of snow. And I should tell you that these maps go from 7 p.m. Friday until 7 p.m. on Monday. So it's the whole event. And again, almost everyone has a very healthy chance of seeing at least 2 inches of snow. Charlotte's at 100%, Boone's at 98%, Columbia's at 100%, Charleston's down to 60%. The Outer Banks, you guys are looking at somewhere between 70 and 92%. And now we're starting to see where we might get lesser amounts if we get some of that hole poking, the dry slotting. It's just dry air mixing in, because now Raleigh has dropped down to 87%.
And you know something, that's something Greg Fishel, who was on with us on Wednesday night's show and has been on with us several times now since last weekend's storm, had mentioned, he's mentioned that multiple times on his Patreon, that the dry slotting is a good possibility between 95 and 77. But really specifically the triangle and the sandhills of North Carolina, that dry slotting is really started to look like it's going to happen right over those areas.
Which is incredible, because a couple days ago we thought that's where they're meant to be. 4 inches. We don't have one for 3, but we can jump up to 4. Why not? And now we're starting to see no one really at 100% chance of getting 4 inches of snow. And I think that's key. No one has 100% chance of seeing 4 inches of snow, right? So when you're thinking like, oh, wait, whoop, is there one in here that I'm missing?
Well, look at it's not so much with the individual cities. Look at where your dark blue coloring is. So
you're right.
The Albemarle Pamlico Peninsula, which is between the Albemarle Sound and the Pamlico Sound there in eastern North Carolina, out between Charlotte and Columbia, has got a big swath.
At least 90% chance there.
Yeah, everything on north of I-20 and east northeast of I-26 is in that darker blue, which is the 90 to 100 percentile possibility of 4 or more inches of snow. And then even then, look at the 80s, is still a pretty wide, pretty much everything east of I-95, the majority of east of I-95, north of I-40, and on up to where I'm at, to about the US 17, maybe US 158 corridor. That is all in that 80 percentile. So there are a lot of places still 4 inches is in all likelihood going to happen, at least as far as our latest forecast updates, which came down just about a couple hours ago.
Yes, and this is why 2 heads are better than 1. So certainly there are some chances where it seems 4 inches are very likely. Some of them not where all the city plots are. I mean, even Myrtle Beach has a 58% chance of seeing 4 inches. For argument's sake, that's a 50-50 shot. But it is interesting that we're going to start to see now these little pockets and these little emphasis as we continue to slide up the accumulation amount. So 6 inches here. You can see kind of those same areas, right? Like maybe Rockingham in North Carolina, or the Sandhills, call it Chesterfield County. You kind of have that same little swath, and out there towards New Bern, right? And out there towards eastern North Carolina. There's these little pockets where we think the snow has a chance of kind of banding and getting a little bit heavier. So right now we're looking at 6 inches of snowfall or more. Sam, I mean, some
2
places
out of 3
still
chance.
Exactly.
I mean, look at that. Look at that. 2 out of 3 chance that there is going to be 6 inches or more of snow over a wide majority of the Carolinas. That say it's unheard of. It's just it's unheard of in the social media area for sure. And we're talking now. We're talking about top 10 events here for both states out of this if this all comes to pass.
Yeah. And what's crazy is we've got even more benchmarks to look at. So here's 8 inches of snowfall. We've now lost Charleston. Augusta's essentially out of this. We still have small percentages across western North Carolina. Charlotte's still at 30%. Rockingham's at 40. Kind of extend that again down to the Sandhills. But again, you can really also still see that bullseye maybe in that Greenville, North Carolina area, Sam.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to bring up one thing, and we've talked a lot about where the forecasts are right now. 12 hours ago, that bullseye was right over top of me. They were the only place that I could see that on our statewide predictions from the National Weather Service of 12 plus inches was the extreme northeast, as northeast as you can get in North Carolina.
I was going to say, for anyone who's
place.
Your location of me is what, closer to Elizabeth City?
Yeah, I am 15 minutes east of Elizabeth City. I am 15 nautical miles from the Virginia state line, and I am 5 nautical miles from the Atlantic Ocean and the Currituck Beach Lighthouse. We were in the center of 12 plus this time 12 hours ago. Now we've seen that shift a lot more in. And it was interesting to look back when we go back and look back at the HRRR was the fact that area over Greenville is where it's. So now that we're getting this short-term modeling into the forecast and be able to work that in, that really helps to get things more precise than they were even when we woke up this morning.
And they'll be even more precise tomorrow. So nothing's 100% locked in, but this is more or less our last call here before the event starts. We will have flakes falling here if we haven't had the first one already. We're looking now at 12 inches, 1 foot. There's a virtually no chance of that happening east of or west, of Interstate 77. But again, that same region in eastern North Carolina is still on the board here with chances of 20 to 30% chance of seeing a foot of snow.
Yeah, and that shows I would say it shows the propensity of a powerful low pressure system being off the coast, and it shows how maybe that high resolution models are starting to grasp where the path of center of circulation is and where that moisture is going to be wrapping around and banding. As we've talked about so much, banding is going to be the big word that's going to come out of this, and a lot of people are going to learn about. I hope we talk about it with thunderstorms. That we talk about them training. It's very similar to training of thunderstorms. The banding of snow squalls is a very similar occurrence with severe weather, with thunderstorms, and in hurricanes and tropical systems. We're going to see that with this, but it shows how much farther inland now that the high resolution models are wanting to throw the moisture that's coming in off of the Atlantic as this low pressure develops off South Carolina here as we get past midnight tonight.
So put in some of the comments from YouTube and elsewhere on the screen right now. Some of you for winter storm coverage here for the first time, and it's because this is such a wide-reaching winter storm. Monica's also checking in on YouTube, and this comment came in just before we started going through the maps, asking right about Rockingham. And I hope, Monica, you're feeling a little special tonight because I feel like Rockingham is one of those areas that could certainly see a lot of snow, maybe not as much as what Sam was just talking about that I-95 corridor in eastern North Carolina. But, when I sit in Charlotte, I know that we've got a good chance of seeing snow here in Charlotte, but Rockingham and places to the east have an even better chance. Just for giggles, here's 18 inches of snow or greater. The biggest number I see is 7% in Elizabeth City. So, Sam, lock in, man.
Yeah, and that starts bringing back memories of March 1st and 2nd, 1980. I see a few people from out here that are in our comments and are on watching tonight. And all I have to say is circus storm, and they know what I'm talking about. Those of us who grew up out here know the circus storm, which again, and I talked about it on Wednesday, but I'll bring it up again. Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey had a show the night of March 1st at the Norfolk Scope, and people that were there did not leave. They spent the night in the Scope because a 25-inch snow event. We had 20 here in Currituck. 25 was measured in South Mills in Camden County, which is the last little border village before you get into Virginia and Chesapeake. And it was 20 to 25 all through Southside Hampton Roads. When you start seeing 18 plus, it starts bringing back memories of that.
That's a documentary waiting to happen. Okay, for anybody who's just joining us, here again is the actual official forecast. This is what the Weather Service is pinpointing. Again, mostly everyone in the Carolinas is going to see at least an inch of snow, and the winner, as of this Friday night, looks like it's going to be Greenville. But as we've been talking about since Wednesday's show, that bullseye keeps moving a little bit. So tomorrow it could be Rocky Mount. Who knows? Right. But it all depends on that banding and setup. We still have lots of... Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I was gonna try to localize it a little bit so people can kind of understand it. It's not just Greenville. Looking at the map, it's much of Martin County, which is where Williamston is, even to parts of Bertie County where Windsor is. So that's US 13, US 17, which is a major thoroughfare coming from Hampton Roads to get to Raleigh. A lot of people go that way. So you're talking about a pretty significant impact along a pretty, and in some cases, interstate class highway that's just U.S. highway. It'll eventually be Interstate 87, by the way. Then obviously Pitt County, Greenville, most of Pitt County is covered in this prediction of 12 plus. And then getting into Snow Hill, which is Greene County, and towards Kenston, those areas. So it's a little bit bigger than Greenville, and that's a pretty significant. Greenville's a big crossroads. It's not just being the largest city here in the Northeast. It's a crossroads for so many of the major routes for us to be able to travel from here in the Northeast to the rest of North Carolina. And so that if you see a 12 plus inch snowfall in that area, there you go, Williamston, Greenville. And like I said, Snow Hill, which is down there southwest of Greenville, that's going to shut things down for multiple days and have a huge impact in terms of travel. We can't talk enough. We talk about a lot about I-95 being Main Street for the eastern United States. And, we're talking about 8 or 9 inches. That's going to cause issues out there. DOT is going to have its hands full with a 12 plus inch snowfall, especially in that part of eastern North Carolina.
That is a lot of snow. That is a northern amount of snow, speaking as a New Yorker. All right, we're going to zoom in now. We're going to show you the local weather service offices. We have a great question in queue that we're going to get back to, and I think it's good context, which is essentially, why are the weather service numbers a little bit higher than what a lot of the TV meteorologists are talking about? And we will get to that in just a moment, but I do want to show you what our friends at the weather service have. So again, this is the official forecast Sam was just talking about, and I think I can zoom on out. I can kind of show you the 1 in 10 chance. This is the 1 in 10 chance. This is probably not what's going to 90% chance this doesn't happen. Okay.
So and just so you know, because it's cuts off, Newport handles everything south of the Albemarle Sound here in eastern North Carolina. Wakefield handles everything north, but you can see that map and there's a part of North Carolina cut off. Don't worry, nothing changes in terms of the numbers above that until you get into Virginia. That's where there's a sharp cutoff. So everything you're seeing right now is pretty much good to go for my northeastern counties.
Yeah. And then here's the low end. The low end still brings 3 to 4 inches in.
Yeah.
All right. So even if the thing underperforms, we still have a pretty good chance that something happens there. So, Sam, I'm going to follow your lead. I'm going to go north to Wakefield's office, which again just show a lot of Virginia because of the way that the Weather Service offices line up, but we can see North Carolina up there, the northeastern corner of North Carolina, and this is the official forecast. This is what they think is most likely going to happen.
Very interesting to see that sharp cutoff once you get on out towards Richmond and those areas. And they've that's one thing Wakefield has been emphasizing throughout this. They were expecting a very sharp cutoff. It was going to be nothing, and then as you can see, 4 inches on the peninsula, getting down into Southside Hampton Roads, 7 plus, and then of course, obviously, we're talking here on the Carolina Weather Group. So let's talk about North Carolina. 9 inches, Elizabeth City, 11 for Kitty Hawk. That's matching up with what, because Kitty Hawk is in the Newport office. So that's kind of matching up with everything there. But, 8 plus is a distinct possibility as far as the entire northeastern corner of the state.
Yep. Here is the 1 in 10 chance that this thing goes bonkers. Sam's looking at like a half of snow.
Bring it. Let's go. The snowboard is deployed. We are ready for it.
And here's what happens if it underperforms. Or if you want to look at it this way, 90% chance that at least this much happens. Hey, that's still enough to go outside and play, right?
Yeah. Anything over 1 inch is going to shut us down and be fun. But, if that happens, then we're all just going to take everything all of our forecast models and throw them in the trash, because they would have to be so wrong at this point.
Yeah, well, that would be a conversation for another time. Let's continue along this North Carolina, Virginia line and take our way over to the office that's in Roanoke/Blacksburg, which is going to give us Greensboro, which is going to give us North Wilkesboro, is going to give us Boone, it's going to give us Mount Airy. This is, again, the scenario that those forecasters there most likely see as coming to fruition. 3 to 4 to 5 inches. You can start to see that climb back up as you go south and east. But again, you can kind of see that even Greensboro, right there on the cusp of, say, 5 to 6 inches of snow. And that cutoff line is real close, and it could move a little bit, right? But somebody south of Business 85 versus north of Business 85 might have 2 different snowfall totals, and that's okay. That's how, just like Sam talked about with showers and thunderstorms during the summertime, where it is kind of like one neighborhood gets one thing and another neighborhood gets another. That is what this is also showing. A 1 in 10 chance that we get some outrageous numbers could bring Greensboro closer to 10 inches, Chapel Hill 13 inches, and Boone up to 9. Again, it feels a little backwards that the bigger numbers are not in Western North Carolina.
Yeah, it does. And that just, again, that's what happens with coastal lows. And even though we do have a pretty sizable piece of energy that's coming from the Northwest, it's coming down from the upper Midwest, that's going to feed this thing. That's the upper level low. And there is some snowfall being reported out of it already up there in West Virginia, and even right into western parts of Virginia and eastern Kentucky. This just is endemic of a coastal low. I mean, just because it develops out over the open ocean and can only throw moisture so far inland.
You're closer to the source. Here is the 90% chance of at least this much happening. 2 inches in Greensboro is probably enough to bring impacts. And Statesville, I think right there at the bottom is coming in at 3. So again, at least an inch or so for the triangle as well. I'm going to go now. Apparently, I'm going counterclockwise across the Carolinas, because now we're going to do Western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. This is the Greenville-Spartanburg office, which does also include the Charlotte metro area. And their map so happens to include Columbia. So we can most likely we're going to get 6 to 7 inches here in Charlotte. It's funny, you can see one of those localized areas in eastern Charlotte where they think we might get 8. Is it exactly going to be right there over Albemarle Road? Probably not, but that's the idea, right? We start getting these little patches, and you can see some of those little patches. While Chester and Lancaster are coming in at 7, and even Newberry's coming in at 7, that darker orange means probably closer to 8. So Columbia at 6, Sumter at 6, Florence at 6, Rockingham is coming in at 6, but I think it's also just on the lighter shade of that 8. So, just where the dot is versus the actual little patching, those patches could move, but somebody in that area could certainly see a big difference. I mean, look at the difference in Western North Carolina, Sam, between Asheville, Marion, and Hickory. Some of those cities along I-40 are going to see 4 inches, but then just outside of Hickory, saying like Morganton, they could see 7 or 8.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you want to look even a little bit back to the west, I mean, look, there's that 10 inch starting to pop up in eastern Tennessee. And in fact, I think I did see a comment a moment ago. Somebody said it's snowing heavily in Jonesboro, Tennessee. There you go. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening.
It's here.
It's here. Almost. But yeah, it is again that because of the 2 pieces of energy that are going to eventually merge offshore. So we're going to get that snow that's going to come with that initial, the trigger that's coming from the northwest. Yeah. So some of that snow may happen here over the next couple of hours for these parts of the states. And then as they combine and blows up out there with the bombogenesis happens offshore.
Bombogenesis.
Bombogenesis. Then it's going to get, then we'll start seeing things starting to fill in. But yeah, it is kind of, again, crazy that we're having this conversation about places to the east rather than to the west getting the heaviest of snow.
Feels very backwards. Here's
It
the
does.
overachieving scenario for those regions. Charlotte could see 10 inches. Marion, maybe 8. Greenville, Spartanburg, somewhere between 6 and 9. Because again, there's one of those transition zones. The transition zone could be slightly different. I'm sure we sound like a broken record at this point, but we want to try to give you a gauge of what world we're talking in. Again, these numbers on the screen right now, there's a 1 in 10 chance that this happens. So if you're a snow lover, this is your best case scenario. If you're a snow hater, this is your best case scenario with a 90% chance of at least 4 inches of snow in the I-77 corridor between Charlotte and Columbia, at least 3 inches of snow in Charlotte and Columbia. I mean, Sam, we sleeted here in Charlotte 7 days ago, and we haven't had a full day of school since. So 3 inches of snow is going to have some impacts one way or the other.
Yeah, this is good. And that's going to thing about it is you're going to pack snow on top of sleet, and sleet that hadn't really had a chance to melt. So that creates that whole crust of ice underneath that is impossible to get rid of without temperatures in the 40s, maybe even 50s, and a lot higher sun angle than we're going to be getting right now.
I think we saw a lot of this region on some of their maps. Here's a look at South Carolina from the Columbia office perspective. This is the most likely to happen. It's interesting that this map actually gives us ranges. Let's put ranges
that
on
is.
here. But
I know.
okay.
I like that.
That's kind of what we've been communicating. Columbia 4 to 6, Winnsboro 4 to 8, Lancaster 5 to 8, because they're really saying on the low end 5, on the upper end 8, most likely to happen. They are giving you a range. They are still giving us that 1 in 10 chance of the bomb explosion of snow across the region. I mean, I'm still getting very distracted by the idea that Southern Pines and Pembroke could be looking at almost a foot. And then at least a 90% chance that there's, again, 3 inches of snow in some of the state capital area along I-26, I-77, I-20, and even Charleston is still coming in at about 1 inch. Walterboro 1 inch, Hampton Road, Hampton there at 1 inch as well too. I'm going to move up to the Wilmington office. I had these tabs in a particular order, and that order has gone out the window. So here is the coastal North Carolina, South Carolina. We're looking at Wilmington. We're looking at Myrtle Beach. Most likely to happen is 9 inches in Fayetteville and Lumberton. Okay? Like, wowzers.
Yeah. Right. And again, that's 95. We're shutting down 95, folks. I mean, it's going to be shut down. You just count on it.
Yeah.
Count on it. That pretty much anything between I-20 and US 58 in Virginia is not going to be passable on 95 probably by tomorrow night, early Sunday morning.
Yeah.
No matter how much DOT is out there moving things.
They will be trying. 4 inches in Myrtle Beach, 5 inches in Georgetown, 6 inches in Wilmington, and then north of Wilmington, those numbers start to climb on up. A 1 in 10 chance that Wilmington gets closer to 1 inch, a 1 in 10 chance that Southport gets closer to 1 inch, a 1 in 10 chance that Myrtle Beach overachieves with 9 inches. We will see. That could bring a foot or more of snow also to that I-95 corridor in North Carolina that Sam was just talking about.
And I-40 as well, yeah.
I-40 as well, too. At least going to see 1 inch of snow in Myrtle Beach, at least going to see 2 inches in Wilmington. So even some of these coastal areas that sometimes get gypped on the snow, you're feeling pretty secure right now. I did realize that I skipped Raleigh, but maybe we saved the best for last. Folks watching from the Triangle. And I'm saying that from Charlotte, so you're welcome. Here is a look at what the Weather Service
we can do a whole show on that.
We could. Is going to have, I mean, the contrast between Greensboro at 5 inches, Greenville, North Carolina at 12, and Raleigh coming in at 8. Very interesting. Durham, 7 inches, so Raleigh might get you beat here by 1 inch. But again, these lines, these boundaries could move ever so slightly. Here's the 1 in 10 chance that almost everybody across central and eastern North Carolina at least gets a foot of snow, which would be fairly remarkable. Again, not likely to happen. 10% chance that this happens, but for some of you, that might be a good enough chance, and a 90% chance that everyone sees at least 1 inch. But the contrast, the scale across this is remarkable, right? Because there's still a 10% chance that we only get 1 inch of snow, and so if you go to bed tonight hoping for 12 and you get 1, you might be disappointed.
Yeah, you might. And there is some interesting things that just happened with the latest HRRR. Waiting when that 18 Zulu, the 0 Zulu is coming out, just waiting for that data to see what it says, because that 18 Zulu all of a sudden wanted to say there was like nothing coming to the triangle. It's weird.
It's that dry slot that we keep talking about.
Right.
We keep talking about. Yeah,
and we need to see if it's going to verify.
It's loading in right now. We have 16% of this latest high rapid refresh coming in. But what's interesting to me, Sam, I've got it stopped here at the latest that I have available to me, which is 8Z. So that's like 8 hours from now. So closer to sunrise. You can still see, right? We still have breaks in here that are going to bring intense snowfall here and none here. Again, these will move just like bands of a hurricane move if you were more familiar with tropical weather. But at periods of time, somebody's going to be getting more snow than others. So that's pretty crazy. Sam, I know you wanted to talk more about coastal impacts, but before we get back to that, I wanted to answer one question that was related kind of to the big tour we just did. And the question was, hi from Raleigh, BMX Racer writes, why is the National Weather Service showing way higher amounts than any of the local stations? Been that way for the past few days, but no one's really talking about it. It's kind of a super nerd thing. And I can't speak for the Weather Service, and I certainly can't speak for every broadcast meteorologist in town, but I did see some behind-the-scenes conversations yesterday or the day before, and I'll see if Sam saw the same ones, which is that the Weather Service is really leaning into some really intensifying of the low pressure off the water, and some of the TV meteorologists are maybe more cautious about that playing out, and they're also more cautious about these dry slots and these bands. So it kind of just depends on how you want to play your cards. The Weather Service, I agree with BMX, seems to be going on the higher end of the numbers that I'm seeing across the board. Is that your experience, Sam?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think there might be a little bit of maybe, what's the best way to put this? And I wish Scotty or Greg were here because they could really maybe give us a little more insight to it. But there's a little bit maybe hedging of bets on the TV side because some inexperience, maybe. I'm, and this is coming from someone who worked in radio his entire life and, has been kind of on the periphery of it for so long. Maybe some of that play into it, that they haven't seen a system like this do this before in their professional careers, and they're wanting to say, they don't feel comfortable buying it, if you will, with what the models are saying and what all the data is saying to them. That might be it. And I think the National Weather Service, not so much conservative isn't the way to put it. They're being more cautious. Let's put it that way. They want to get the message across that we are going to get impacted by a significant amount of snow. But in North Carolina and South Carolina, 1 inch is a significant amount of snow. It shuts things down. If you've never been here, for anything over 1 inch, and if you were here last year, it took days for us to get out of that. I can remember back to 2018 when we got that situation like you got in Charlotte right now. We got rain, sleet, rain, then snow on top of that. And it was literally a skating rink on US 158, which is known as the bypass here. It was a skating rink on the Outer Banks. You could not move anywhere because of it. I think there might be some of that in play as well, as that we want to make sure our messaging to everyone is, you need to take this seriously. This is going to be a significant winter event. It may not be to your liking. It may not be to what you want to see, but we want you to understand that some of you are going to get a very large amount of snowfall out of this. Some of you, not so much, but overall impacts are going to be very significant going through the weekend into the early part of next week at the earliest. We haven't even gotten to the whole cold situation that's going to come out of this afterwards.
We've worked together long enough. I had it ready.
Yes, there you go. Wind chills. Now, this obviously is a 3-day forecast. So this isn't just what we're expecting by the end of it. This is like even the peak, because we're going to have those stronger winds, which is going to drop our wind chills throughout the Carolinas. We're going to see pretty significant winds out of this. But yeah, I mean, look at that. 0 in Kingstree, 1 in or 2 in Columbia, and 1 in Walterboro, and 1 in Rock Hill. Look, dangerous. I mean, that's why that is dangerous cold. And it's that dangerous cold that we're concerned about, especially if we get power outages. And we haven't even talked about the consistency of the snow, wet snow versus dry snow, and wind. Where areas that get wet snow means power outages, and people are going to be without power and without heat sources for extended periods of time, possibly. So there is a whole lot that's at play, not just the amount of snow we're going to get this. We do have some cold weather that's going to be behind this. We've been having cold weather with it all this week. And as you can see there, that North Carolina 2-day, so that's through Sunday. And, -3 Elizabeth City between now and Sunday for a wind chill. That obviously is tomorrow night. I saw it. We know we have extreme cold warnings out here.
We do.
We have not had that since they went to the new terminology, which is cold weather advisory, cold weather warning, and extreme cold warning. Now, we're going to be down in those in all of our weather forecast offices pretty much over the next 3 days, maybe even 4 days.
Yeah, so this snow is not melting. It's not going anywhere fast.
Mm.
Anything that does melt is going to refreeze. This temperature conversation is brought to you in part by Sandy on Facebook, who asked what the wind chill was looking like for Hatteras, and the answer at the absolute lowest is 8.
Between now and Sunday night. That's not counting Sunday night, Monday, when we're still going to see some pretty brisk winds down on Hatteras Island.
All right, Sam, as we wrap this bad boy up, let's put the emphasis back on some of those coastal impacts, because you guys are going to see the absolute brunt of the storm.
Yeah, we are. We are looking at some pretty significant wind. I'm going to go to the latest briefing from our National Weather Service office out here in Newport, because they're kind of the target area as far as the coastal impact. And I'm talking about coastal impacts that could also cause issues for Corolla, which is the Currituck Outer Banks, which is in Wakefield. So kind of keep that in mind. This is what our wind forecast is for Saturday night into Sunday morning when we're expecting the peak gusts. 51 in Manteo, 66 Rodanthe, 62 Frisco, 60 Ocracoke. That's what we're expecting. There is a chance, a possibility of seeing wind gusts topping 70 miles an hour south of Oregon Inlet, 40 to 50 inland areas. And inland areas pushing all the way up into the Pamlico River and into places like Belhaven and Little Washington and Columbia. And then translate that up into northeastern North Carolina above the Albemarle Sound. So wind gust of 40 plus miles an hour for Edenton, Elizabeth City, Currituck, Moyock, places like that. You're going to see significant wind gusts that's going to cause not only the coastal impacts, but the blowing and drifting snow that we're going to deal with. This is the latest forecast as far as the possible coastal 2 to 4 feet on the east facing beaches of the Outer Banks, 1 to 2 feet for the south facing beaches of southern Hatteras Island and Ocracoke. And we're expecting to see the peak of that inundation happening with high tide on Sunday morning. We are just passing perigee today, which is the closest point the moon comes in its orbit around the earth. We have a full moon on Monday, on Groundhog Day of all days. So tides are going to be running higher. Lunar tides are running higher. Thankfully, we are 2 months away from a king tide. Whew. Because if we were dealing with a king tide in this, all bets are off. Now, on the sound side, we are going to see a shift from a northeast component to a northerly component to a northwest wind. That's going to cause some sound side flooding issues south of Oregon Inlet. Minor possibility for folks from, say, Bay Drive and Kitty Hawk Bay and those areas, Nags Head, around Roanoke Island. Really, the significance of the sound side flooding is going to be down south. So south of Oregon Inlet, going down to Buxton, and then all the way down to Ocracoke, as you can see there on the map. Those areas are very prone to this. We've already had northerly winds pretty much, other than Monday. I think we had some southwest for a little bit, brought the water back up where I am on the north end of the Currituck Sound. I can start walking out there again, not so much with the boots, but I can at least, I don't have to put the waders on to walk out into the sound right now. It's not even 6 inches where my house is. All that water's got to go somewhere, and it's down on that southern end of the Pamlico Sound. This gives you a better idea that that's going to go all the way down towards Davis and Atlantic and Cedar Island, what we call down east, and Harker's Island, and all down into Carteret County. Still some local ocean overwash possible for Hatteras and Ocracoke. We should get through the first 2 high tide cycles on Saturday with not much issue. We're definitely going to be losing a little bit of sand along Highway 12. It's that Sunday high tide, Sunday morning, that's when it's going to peak. We definitely are going to see some overwash from the ocean coming into Buxton. We're definitely probably going to see it coming over the dunes or trying to punch through the dunes on Pea Island, possibly on the north end of Ocracoke as well. So it's the one good thing is it will back down as we get through Sunday evening and Monday. It'll still be pretty breezy, still going to be pretty windy at times, but it won't be that severity that we're going to see Sunday morning, and that is a concern. One other thing I wanted to mention, tomorrow is the last day of Eastern North Carolina's duck hunting season. We've got every rental property that's available in Currituck County rented right now. The boat ramp's going to be jam-packed with guys going out tomorrow morning, guys and gals going out tomorrow morning to duck hunt. Down on Hatteras Island, all over the Outer Banks, all over Eastern North Carolina. One thing I can't stress enough, if you're not experienced with our waters here and you're trying to go out in something like this, keep in mind conditions change rapidly. We get big wind gusts that cause localized higher waves that can really cause problems. If you're planning, and most of these folks are about wrapping it up to go to bed, if you're planning or know somebody who's planning to go duck hunting on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, tell them not to go Saturday afternoon. We're going to see conditions change very rapidly Saturday midday and in the afternoon. Get it in the morning, do a morning hunt. Don't go in the afternoon. It's really going to start getting dangerous, especially if you're not familiar or with someone who's not familiar with these waters. Water temperatures in the 30s right now in the Sounds. It only takes a few minutes of hypothermia to set in and things really can go bad quickly. So that's just one other piece I wanted to pass along as we wrap things up.
I appreciate that, Sam. And for anybody who's just found us, Sam Walker out there on the Outer Banks is a great resource. We've got folks all around the Carolinas. I'm here in Charlotte. We have eyes and ears in Columbia and Raleigh and Greensboro and Charleston and Myrtle Beach and Asheville, just to name a few. And this storm is all going to be about what you see on the ground. So please don't be shy to comment with us, your local National Weather Service office, your local broadcasters, because as you'll see, radar is really going to blanket this area, but it's those on-the-ground reports that is going to really help pinpoint where those localized snow totals are. If you're watching with us live on this Friday night on YouTube, we're going to take you over to our Carolina Weather Net. It streams continuously around the clock with radar, sky cams, forecast, and real-time alerts from the National Weather Service. It also has real-time local storm reports, so as they start getting in those snow totals, it will be reading those out. If you're watching or listening to us elsewhere, I hope you go check that out. Sam and I and the crew will be live throughout the weekend covering updates on the storm, so I hope you will stay with us, and we're looking forward to hearing from you as the coverage goes on. Stay
James
safe.
is making me go work outside tomorrow, as I
I'm
understand
making him go outside and do snow angels everywhere.
Yes.
There's no stopping Sam. He's going outside anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I may end up on the beach before all things are said and done tomorrow or Sunday. So
it's so true. Well, thank you for joining us for the special Friday edition of our show. We're back every Wednesday with a new episode of our podcast. And as you can see, pretty frequently lately, special editions as the weather warrants. But on behalf of everybody, be well, stay safe, have some fun if you can, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Good night.